We missed this one earlier. Rose McGowan.
She's mad. She's mad. Do you know why she's mad?
Well, she's saying, and not one of those fancy people wearing black to honor our rapes would have lifted a finger. I have no time for Hollywood fakery, but you I love, Asia Argento.
Okay, so...
Hashtag Rose Army.
Yeah, of course, not forgetting that it is all about Rose McGowan, including the other... You know why she's mad? First of all, I didn't see her there. I mean, after all of those retweets, she still cannot get an invitation to the Golden Globes. She's mad because this isn't all about Rose McGowan anymore. I mean, this is a woman who took a deal, stayed quiet, did a calculation, worked out that it was... She's on screen, yeah. I mean, she did a calculation. She worked out that it was more profitable to speak out than to stay quiet because her career was in the doldrums. So she did. Then it comes out she's thinking about a 7-figure settlement to not speak out again. And okay, she doesn't take the deal. Well, maybe because she thought that the payday was bigger in the long run, becoming the front woman of this new rebel army of women who just aren't taking it anymore. Except now it's kind of got away with her, and now Rose isn't the star of the show anymore because now Oprah and Meryl are involved. Who the hell is Rose McGowan?
Right.
Oprah, yeah. And now Oprah owns this subject, and Meryl Streep was there in the front row with that like, I'm trying, but I'm not trying, pulled back gray hair, you know, that sort of like grandma bun that she does when she wants to look like she's not trying too hard. And just sort of like quietly and elegantly clapping and pursing her lips and nodding her head, while Oprah becomes the queen of the female resistance movement after, of course, you know, torpedoing her career for not standing up for women and for giving up on the sisterhood in favor of Barack Obama. Now we've got Rose McGowan poor Rose McGowan left on the sidelines because bigger beasts have taken over the mission and taken over the movement from her. You
know who else is upset? They didn't get an invite?
Who is?
Corey Feldman. He's very upset.
He's upset that he didn't get invited to the... Oh, because... Well, you see, this is more defensible. Corey Feldman is more defensible. And, you know, the best... Well, I say best. The most heart-rending bit of the story, which I talk about in the book, Despicable, is coming out in May. The best bit of this story is now in retrospect, we understand why Matt Lauer was so aggressive and hostile.
Oh, it's terrible to him.
To Corey. Why? Because in the back of his head, he was thinking, I should discredit all accusers because mine are next. Mine are coming out the woodwork next. This is Matt button under the desk to lock the door Lauer. This is Matt bag of sex toys Lauer. This is Matt Lauer about whom everybody knew. The network. And he's he's in the back of his mind thinking, I'm sure, the smart move here is to discredit accusers and play this down and make Corey Feldman look like he's crazy because I know I'm up on the rack next. And I was watching that interview with him and I was thinking, okay, Corey Feldman is an oddball. He's a little weird. He's a little kooky, but wouldn't you be after what he went through when he was a kid? The other kid that it happened to killed himself. Corey Feldman is a little bit of an oddball, but he's now speaking out. He's giving names. He wanted to do like a fundraiser that didn't work because he was worried about having legal protection and somewhere to live and all the rest of it. Meanwhile, he gets arrested for marijuana possession as a warning as when he starts speaking out. And Matt Lauer's going in on him. Like he's the bad guy. He did something. It was the most accusatory tone. I couldn't believe it. And that's why. Now I realize why. Corey Feldman, I just feel bad. I mean, I'm putting it in the book, so it's not a secret. But we were in touch briefly. We had a phone call, and unfortunately, he decided not to talk to me, and I think it was a mistake. I think it was a mistake, and I hope he gets back in touch, and I hope he does, and I hope it makes it into the book, because whatever advice he's taking to hold out for this sympathetic mainstream media interview, to hold out for the Charlie Rose or whatever, it isn't coming. It isn't coming because the people he wants to go for and the subject he wants to talk about, they are not palatable. People don't want to hear about it. They're not ready for Corey Feldman. They're okay for women talking about bad men, but they do not want to hear about the gay child rape stuff. They don't want to know. And so he is the oddball weirdo throwing out allegations that they must discredit because what's the alternative? Opening a can of worms that will consume Hollywood, consume the entire entertainment industry. The whole place will be in smoldering ruins if Corey Feldman's allegations are properly investigated because of what it will surface elsewhere. And they're not ready for that. They don't want to do that. They want to do anything but that. In fact, you can see if you look carefully in the left-wing coverage of this, you can see the circumscription begin to happen. They want to limit this to bad men attacking innocent women, female victims, and let's leave the subject there. The movement is not general sexual assault. It is women versus men. It is, it is gender. It's nothing else. There's nothing about race, nothing about homosexuality, nothing about child, whatever. They are trying to contain the fallout from Weinstein, and they can't. It's not going to work. It isn't going to happen. But the reason I think that they're so aggressively against Corey Feldman speaking out, naming names, and letting him have his say in the sort of sympathetic environment that would normally be provided to abuse victims or to people who were ready to speak up about their abusers or about things that happened to them when they were children, particularly in an industry everyone's fascinated by, movies and TV. They're not giving him the platform for that reason, I think. So that's a story. That's a story of real tragedy. I mean, Rose McGowan, frankly, can go hang. I think she is the worst kind of opportunist. First of all, she took the deal, indicating that she cared more about her career than her dignity, and more about her about her pocketbook than her dignity. She stayed quiet while other female victims were presumably being abused and harassed and in some cases raped. Now she's brazenly and shamelessly throwing the word rape around on Twitter because she's upset she's not at she's not at the front table at the Golden Globes because she's victim. She's like patient zero. She's victim number one in America today. Why isn't she on stage where Oprah is? She probably thinks she should be getting the Cecil B. DeMille Award. And so she's mad about it. Meanwhile, there's a real tragedy, which is Corey Feldman, which has still not been aired properly. And now they've given him a cursory tour of the studios because the clamor to hear him was so loud. They've given him a cursory tour of the TV studios during which he was subjected to hostile interview after hostile interview. Just goes to show the entertainment industry has not moved much past Barbara Walters when she, 2 decades ago, said to him, "What are you doing? You're damaging a whole industry." Rather than listen to the story of how he was abused, as he says, and raped and worse, as is now tumbling out of his mouth eventually after all these years. Now, he's been forced into doing it in a very unsatisfactory way. In a way, in the story from him may now never be heard properly because he's been scared off talking to people like me who might actually listen to him, and he's been bullied into, managed badly, obviously, and guided into hostile interviews with people who have no incentive to hear his truth. This is the end for him. My hope is, and I'm pretty sure about it, that they are not going to be able to contain the damage. This is not just a little hill fire that damages a few Bel Air homes. This is like full forest fire. This is taking out the state, And this stuff, this is genie out of the bottle, horse bolted out of the stable territory. And they're not going to be able to contain this and turn this into a gendered issue. The reason the left wants to, by the way, of course, is that if you make it left. If you make it women v men, it's left v right because men and women sort themselves so comfortably, unfortunately, and I don't know why this is the case, which it shouldn't be, into left v right when on these gendered issues. The male position is seen now as a sort of libertarian Trump right position. The female position is seen as a progressive and whatever. I hope, and I don't think they're going to be able. I don't think they're going to be able to do it, but I hope that this fire is going to consume the whole industry, consume the town. I want LA in smoldering ruins because it deserves to be.
Well, Oprah says a new day's on the horizon, so I think we can all go to bed and we're going to be all right.
Now we've had an Oprah speech, everything's all right.
Wait, was that their big fix? Bring in Oprah?
Well,
was that like their thing? Hold on,
it's their come to God moment. So
yeah,
they
was
brought
that
in the
they're
closest...
like, wait a minute, we are screwed. What do we need right now?
Oprah. The only thing we can do is get a 10-minute oration from Oprah,
and we're all going to forget about it and sleep well.
Why? Because she absolved them of their sins. She spoke to a room full of men and women clad in black who were the perpetrators masquerading as victims. And they brought in the closest thing they have to God, which is Oprah and Obama. These are the closest things they have to God. And she blessed them and absolved them. And now they can go forward in the world feeling like they've fixed something. Feeling like rather than being part of the problem, they're now part of the solution. They can go forward into the world feeling like their sins have been washed clean because they've been touched by Oprah. And you look at the reaction from, look at the immediate leap, the Oprah 2020 stuff from journalists as well. This is how she's perceived in culture still, even now. And this is, this Oprah stuff. This is the equivalent. And social justice is this. And by the way, I'm fascinated by this, and we're going to talk about this on so many future shows because it's my new favorite subject. The resurgence of witchcraft.
Oh, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
The resurgence of witchcraft is lefties finding God because they've realized that they need something more than this narrow monochromatic prism through which they view the world. Is it racist? Is it sexist? Is it homophobic? There's something more to life than that. And they don't know what it is because for 2 generations, that's all they've been interested in. So they're now looking for something more. And when they reach for something more, they reach for brands and personalities like Oprah. And there's a book by Catherine Lofton, Gospel of an Icon, about Oprah Winfrey. And there was a lot of good literature about Oprah Winfrey in the late 90s and early 2000s that described how her shows are structured like the Eucharist. Where there's in the crescendos of emotion, and then so you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. That's the Eucharist. How her shows became a sort of religious ritual for an increasingly godless America, and she's now brought back as the woman who saved us all in the 1990s, and was there for us when nobody else was. And
Obama said no, Michelle said no,
because the Obamas are absent, because the Obamas have disappeared from stage, except for these rare occasions when Barack Obama will come out and say something disobliging about Trump, because the clamor for him to say something, anything, is so extraordinary that he can't help but offer the occasional Facebook post about what a bad job Trump is doing.
But see, that's how stupid they think we are. That this big fix, they've been exposed and it's just starting. If we bring Oprah, it's all going to be like, you know what I mean?
But it isn't. But it isn't because people did not tune in their tens of millions to watch, God come down to earth and pronounce them innocent. 11% of us tuned out.
Like it almost
another
sickly
11% of us
feel
left.
Better. That's exactly what you're saying. I mean, this is next level.
It's a superficial proxy for mass. It's a superficial proxy for genuine. And here's the point, right? Mass and Eucharist, the process of going to church, real religion, it's about asking for forgiveness and making amends. And then if you go to any preacher, any pastor, any father, any reverend, they will say, the first thing you have to do to be forgiven is to make amends. You can't just say, sorry, I did that.
Of course.
You have to go to that person and say, how can I make it right? And get, and Oprah's moment, Oprah's little 10-minute, pandering on the stage was them bypassing the step of making it right and being given forgiveness, despite the fact that they had given no indication whatsoever they were prepared to do anything to make it right, except wear some black clothes.